Any other introductions? Okay, so we'll move right into, looks like leading with racial equity and designing REACH CDC affordable housing in Beaverton with Alma Flores. I'll go ahead and assume control and take it away.
Great, thank you so much for having us this evening. As indicated before, I'm Alma Flores. I'm the Director of Housing for REACH CDC.
Oh, wait, can you everybody hear her?
No.
You have to speak up, Alma.
What about now?
A little better, but you have to really enunciate.
Okay, I will speak up really loudly. Sorry about that. So Alma Flores, Director of Housing for REACH CDC, a local nonprofit providing affordable housing throughout the bi-state area, mostly within Multnomah County, Washington County, and Clark County. We are developing the housing in downtown Beaverton called the Mary Ann. It's a 54-unit project bringing affordable housing to the area. We have an interest in pursuing more affordable housing in Beaverton and want to lead with racial equity in the design of those affordable housing developments. And we have hired Anita Yap with Multicultural Collaborative to help with our community engagement, and have already started that engagement with several stakeholders in the community. And so we're here before you because of BCCI. I reached out to Alexis Ball for the Diversity Advisory Board, as well as the Mayor's Youth Advisory Board, and the BOLD program. So we're just here before you to talk a little bit about what our thinking is behind leading with racial equity and how we want to program that looking forward to future projects in Beaverton. So with that, Anita.
All right, thanks, Alma. Hi, everybody. I'm Anita Yap. I'm with the Multicultural Collaborative, and so I'm working with REACH on doing some community engagement, as well as working, as Alma mentioned, with racial equity. And I just want to say that what Alma's trying to do with REACH is pretty amazing and really great to see an affordable housing provider, developer, focus on racial equity. So she's working with a lot of racially diverse professionals, including myself and architects, and focusing on how can affordable housing and housing projects meet the needs of a racially diverse community. So we're doing some work, as Alma mentioned, reaching out to folks, providing some, making some relationships, but really my role is really to dive deep and ask folks kind of what sort of housing and what types of elements in housing do they really need or want, and understanding, especially in Beaverton, kind of the broad racial diversity, cultural and ethnic that you all have, and how people like to live differently. So I've done some work in Portland. I've worked in the Jane District with the Asian Pacific Islander community, looking at some affordable housing with Rose CDC and also with Hacienda CDC, and really working with folks with trying to understand how best to provide and develop and design housing with people at the center. And some of the things that we've really found is that there's just a broad array of opportunities that we can do rather than building typical housing with, you know, single family type units and things like that. So, you know, we're looking at opportunities. Are there opportunities looking for kind of extended family types of living, and how does that look like within, you know, what does that design look like? So I'm working with the architects and looking at how to develop some surveys and also focus groups with that. Alma said we've mentioned, reached out to several communities and are really looking to engage to really help focus and really be culturally relevant and responsive to folks. So with that, I have a few questions for the committee, if you're willing to jump in and help us kind of design this. So I'm wondering if you have some other recommendations on community organizations or folks that you know that work with racially diverse communities that we can reach out to that either provide services through housing or housing, and that we can talk to see if we can engage with communities. So that's one. Oh, well, go ahead, Eric. I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, the Washington County Housing Advisory Committee is very active in this area, and I would suggest you contact them. And also the Washington County Behavioral Health Council interacts with the Housing Advisory Council, and they do a lot of work. And I think your work of what you've just described, albeit briefly, sounds like it would be a good fit, and I would strongly suggest you get a hold of both of them.
Great idea. Thanks, Eric. Since we got this open, go ahead. Anyone else?
Anyone can jump in.
Yeah. Have
Go
you
ahead,
heard?
Joe.
Yeah. Have you heard of the Community Partnership for Affordable Housing, CPA?
I have. Rachel Duke, right?
Yeah, they're pretty. They have a number of 3 or 4 buildings that they're actually constructed over the last number of years and involved with something new building now. So might be some good pointers from there.
Thanks, Joe. You know, we've talked with, well, we're working with Vienna Star. We've worked with and talked to Latino Network. You know, we've got connections with Virginia Garcia, Sequoia Mental Health, you know, some of these that provide services and some of these affordable housing properties as well. School districts, we've talked with folks from the Beaverton School District as well.
Can I have a thought?
Sure.
There are a number of mobile home communities, and I think they provide a unique style of affordable housing. And I think there's a number of them in Beaverton, and I think that that's a group that I guess you talk to the landlord or I don't know if they have community groups within those living arrangements, you know, like a neighborhood group or something like that. But I think that's an essential group to reach out, because again, I think that's I find that a very viable way of providing affordable housing.
Thanks, Terry. That's a really good suggestion. Anybody have any contacts with any of the landlords or property owners in those mobile home parks?
Does the city keep an inventory of that? For instance, the one on Milliken by Vernier? Isn't there one down by Center? Or is that one gone?
Yeah, and there's Hidden Village, which is off of Denny Road.
I would strongly suggest you get a hold of the Washington County Housing Advisory Council Committee. They have a lot of those contacts as well.
Okay, great, thanks. Any other suggestions? So I'm gonna, oh, go ahead.
There's 2 thoughts I think of is important for affordable housing, and that's transportation. So either TriMet or how people, and childcare. And I don't know how you bring that in. But
Thank you, Conette.
Did you actually hear what she said?
I think I heard just the transportation and childcare.
Yeah, Conette, can you stop your video and talk, because you totally froze. And then we can hear you better what you said, I think.
okay, like that?
Try it again.
That's better.
That's better.
Yep.
Transportation, many times some families have but one car, and transportation is an issue. And then childcare, yes, especially if there has to be any commuting for these groups, that both of those are adequate and meet the need.
Thank you. So thinking about where these are constructed as far as close to transit services is a suggestion. Anybody else have other suggestions on services and other sorts of things you think are important in affordable housing? And then also related to that, as far as design in properties as well, as far as multifamily, what sorts of things do you think, you know, folks in your community might be interested in seeing differently than what's currently being built?
Well, senior housing would be kind of, for seniors, to have adequate ways of getting into the house and have also services so that they can live there.
Birgit makes a great point, but we also have to consider the multi-generational aspect of housing in Beaverton, that there will be families of many generations who will be living together in the future if they are not already. And the intersection of housing and social services is key to how we solve some of these problems going forward. And I really, really hope that you will work with Washington County in terms of getting social services to people who need housing and vice versa. It's a situation that we face, and it's going to only get worse as we go along unless we do something now.
And education, something that has them actually go to be educated so that they can, the people who are not necessarily seniors, but that would be probably fun for them too, but that people can get out of the situation of being in affordable housing, if at all possible.
I'm wondering if there's any connection between Anita and Alma and Rob Zoller and the Housing Options Program with House Bill 2001, with the different kinds of housing options that are mandated now. If there's some kind of connection that could be made between your program and what he's leading as well.
And is Rob with the city of Beaverton? Is
Correct.
he the one leading? Okay.
Yes.
Like a planner or in the housing?
Yes.
Thank
So he just called a meeting just recently, I think it was last week, moving forward on this. So looking at all sorts of options for duplex, triplex, cluster cottages, all sorts of different housing options that are coming down the pike and mandated by the state.
Sharon, if I could jump in.
Oh, I'm sorry, Terry, go ahead.
Yes,
Just real quick. I think that's a great opportunity for maybe programmatic considerations of retrofitting homes for affordable housing, not just new structures, but actually retrofits.
Right.
Will fit into the housing option program.
And the thing that really triggered it for me was the multi-generational.
And I was wondering, is the idea that people live a long time in these affordable housing units, or is there is this to bring them to their own housing, or what's the goal there?
That's a good question. Maybe Alma, can you answer that question?
Around middle housing, bringing in more middle housing options.
No,
I think it's
what's the point and what's the goal? Is it affordable housing? Is it for long term, or is it for so people have a stepping stone to move into their own house or into their own apartment, whatever kind of setup it is? I just want to know what the affordable housing is about. Whether it's, I mean, if there's a goal for.
So I didn't give the full spiel of what we mean when we say affordable housing, but definitely our work is to bring housing that is affordable to those earning no more than 60% of the area median income of an area, and we go all the way down to zero. So if someone does not have an income, we don't charge any rent, or if they earn $100, we don't charge more than the HUD allocated amount of 30% of that. So $30, for instance, on that example. So our affordability is long-term typically we're developing housing that is at that range of income levels for 60 and in some cases 99 years.
So what was this with the 60 and to the 99? What was that? I didn't understand.
We keep our housing, multifamily housing options, rental housing affordable from anywhere from 60 years to 99 years, for instance. 99 years is a Portland requirement. Much of the state requirements are at the 60-year time frame. And just so you know, REACH has been around for over 3 decades and has maintained affordability of all of its portfolio. We own around 2,600 units of affordable housing in both single family housing and in multifamily developments. And the expectation is that folks who are able to earn a higher income and, you know, go up the ladder, so to speak, in those incomes, then we assume that they don't need affordable housing anymore and can move into others. We'd never ever displace anyone unless their incomes, you know, and even if their incomes do exceed what we allow, we do allow some grace period for them to find alternative housing.
What's the grace period?
Well, it's dependent on the project itself. Every project has a different type of funding source that sort of warrants the amount of time, but typically we don't displace anyone within the year or a year time frame.
Okay, and then you check this also all the time, that people
Yes,
are
yearly income qualification processes. Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a limit to how much affordable housing you can also, yeah.
Right.
So any other thoughts on, you know, design or kind of service needs that you know about in Beaverton for the community that Alma's talking about and that we're trying to engage, especially racially diverse communities?
Go ahead, Kate.
I was going to say, as a city councilor, one of the things that I've been disappointed by in the past is that we haven't been able to have affordable housing incorporate features that we really need for the long term, like resiliency, and I hope we get the state, we really need to update the state code that says not only are houses built to withstand the initial shake, but that will be buildings you can go back into after the shake. Our current code, it depends on how your house is built, but the code only requires that it survive the initial shake. So aftershocks that can go on for weeks or months, you could be camping in your yard. And again, we look at some of that for housing options, but it gets so hard for affordable housing because you're always trying to, you know, pencil things out. And another thing I've heard some about, and I hope there becomes more funding sources for, is to build affordable housing that meets sustainability standards, that is gets towards net zero energy use, that, you know, uses building techniques that conserve energy. And I would hope that sometime in the future we could do that for affordable housing, not just for, you know, people with more money.
Thanks, Kate. That's really important to think about. Hopefully there's some opportunities for incentives, especially after what has recently happened in Oregon with the wildfires. I mean, it wasn't a shake, but still just thinking about community resiliency is really important.
Anita, do you or Alana, Alma know the number of how many affordable housing units there are in the Beaverton area? Did you guys hear that?
I don't
looking
know
to Alma.
the number. I would have to go back into your housing needs analysis to get that number, but certainly Rob Zoller would have that for you.
Do you have a ballpark figure? Are we talking 100, 400, 1,000?
I have.
Joe, I can get some of those figures for you through the Washington County Housing Advisory Committee. I'll check that out tomorrow, okay?
Yeah, it'd be nice to know just what we're dealing with here and what kind of numbers we have.
Well, there's the portion of affordable housing units that are available and the ones that are in the pipeline, and there are a lot of them in the pipeline now, thanks to that Metro Council, Metro bond issue. So let me do some research and I'll get back at you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other thoughts about needs of community in Beaverton, you know, especially in housing, childcare, transportation?
I know you already mentioned this, but I think it's really great that you're considering Beaverton School District schools. And I come from Beaverton High School, and quite a few of our students have experienced homeless or have housing instability. And I think it's really important to consider both the high school students and as well as their families.
Thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts?
All right. Well, thanks everybody. It was really great to meet you. Thanks for your input and the resources that you provide and the work you're doing on this committee is pretty awesome. Just your participation and caring for the community. So we're hoping to really up our game and, you know, work with Beaverton and Washington County on affordable housing, making housing more culturally responsive to communities, as you know, as you mentioned, intergenerationally, and other ways to make it more livable for folks. So thank you for the time.
You're welcome.
All right, so if anyone has any other thoughts, let me know. And if something appears to you in the middle of the night, you can always email Lani or one of us, and we can pass that information on. So thank you for attending. You can feel free to attend the rest of our meeting or not, as you would like. Anybody have any other questions or anything? Joe? No. Okay.
I was just waiting.
Okay. Now we have to do some sort of not fun business type stuff. Just procedural things, and it's about elections. And things are going to be a little different this year because we're not going to have a holiday get-together, which is where we usually finalize these things. And our bylaws are very specific about what needs to happen when. So since we're making a small change to that, we're going to need a motion to move forward. And it's just a procedural thing, just so we're in accordance with our bylaws.
Madam Chair, I move that we move forward.
Thank you, Eric. Let me explain a little bit first. Let's see.
Nice try, Eric.
Always on the ball.
I'll get there. I'll get there.
Yeah, I was going to second.
Well, go ahead and do it, because then there's a motion on the floor and we have to move forward.
No, Eric already second.
I didn't second. I made them.
No,
I made
the other Eric. The other Eric. Eric.
Thank you,
I'm
Eric.
looking at it now, but
Yeah, so we're just delaying it so that we would delay it by a month. So we just wanted you all to be aware that these officer positions are up, and normally we would be moving forward at this board meeting to take to go over the nominations, but we're going to just extend it 1 month to keep it simple.
Ergo, I amend my motion, Madam Chair, to extend it for a month.
There we go.
thank you. So our next meeting is November 16th, and the motion has been moved and seconded. So all those in favor of this adapted timeline, please raise your hands. Thank you. Thank you. All right, looks like it passes. So we will take care of elections with the next meeting. Thank you for all your help, all of your enthusiasm, and thanks, Lani, for the backup.
And I
Madam
really
Chair.
like Rossi's thumbs up.
Yeah. Madam Chair, may I ask when we will find out who the candidates are?
Lani?
Yes, so so if you are interested in being an officer, please reach out to Ellen or myself. And then next month we'll list off the nominations and then take any nominations from the floor as well.
Does Ellen not want to be chair next year? That would be a shame.
That would.
Happy to serve again. Also happy to pass the mantle. This has been a heck of a year.
Trying year, I understand, and I would hope that Joe would consider serving another year as well.
Sure, yeah, if somebody really wants it, that'd be great, but I'm willing to serve another year.
That answers my questions.
And we have a current vacancy for treasurer. As you will remember, we had our treasurer, she had to move out of the city. So that position has been vacant this year for a chunk of
I'd nominate Eric Lear.
Do you
if he would accept.
Yeah, I would accept.
Hey, I have a question. Actually, guys, I'm so sorry, but the funny thing is that I thought the election was always in November, and so we just moved it to October before because of the clash before, and that always needed our vote to move it to October, not to extend it. The bylaws actually should be saying that, or whatever rules, that we were supposed to always in November. So I was a little surprised you're asking for a vote on extending, because it was always like that.
Well, if I could just add a little bit more description, since we were trying to keep this short and sweet, we did maybe dense it a little bit much. We're still going to vote in November, but our bylaws are really specific. For example, this month we should have been reading the list of nominees and then taking nominations from the floor, but we really didn't have a chance to get this in front of you. And because we're meeting virtually and we had the voters forum, we just really thought we needed to delay the process.
Well, if I might, we could have a list of nominees. We already have Ellen and Joe agreeing to do it, and Eric agreeing to be the treasurer. Jonathan, I assume you're going to want to still be recorder. Don't shrug. Say yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to stay recorder.
Thank you. So there we have a slate of nominees, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go forward from there.
Bintu, I see your hand is raised. Do you have a question?
Saying maybe Eric, am I unmuted? I was just saying, Eric, I know you're asking for people who already want to be, but maybe we should also leave the suggestion to say who else wants to do it, and see if there are more people who are interested.
Aren't there always from the floor?
There are nominations from the floor, yes.
Right. So
that was just that, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah. In my 3 years as chair of this organization, we had a lot of nominations from the floor, but if that's up to Ellen to call for it now. Right. And then we would have a slate to go into November and we could vote.
Well, we are running a little ahead of schedule, so is it a motion, Lani, to open the nominations?
Yeah, so I would just take a motion from the floor if there's any additional nominations from the floor. And then to Eric's point, we'll also do this in November as well. So it gives everyone to Bintu, what Bintu was also saying, that it will give people to think about it. If they want to throw their name in the hat, they can also do that at the November board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, would anyone like to add a nomination tonight? And if so, they can make a motion to open the nominations. Okay, looks like I don't see anyone. So we don't need to open the nominations tonight. We can also do it next month. So anybody else have any questions or comments about elections?
I do see a couple hands raised, but I don't know if Birgit and Bintu.
I think we have their questions.
Oh, no, that was for the election. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that was for the elections. I don't think. Yeah.
Sorry, lower the hand.
Oh, does the hand keep being raised? Oh,
You
sorry.
have to
I didn't
lower
know.
your
Oh,
hand.
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know it stays up.
Okay.
We're learning.
Good to see your face, Vincent. Okay, are we all right to move on?
Yes.
All right, until next month. Okay, so now we need to discuss the August and September minutes. So send me a chat or raise your hand if you have any amendments to the minutes. Did everyone get a chance to look at them all? Okay, no questions?
Madam Chair, I move we adopt the minutes.
Can we do that for both months?
Yes, ma'am.
Second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor of adopting both the August and September minutes as written, please raise your hands. All right, that passes. Thanks, everyone. And we're ahead of schedule still. So, Kate, will you have until 7:25? Go ahead with the council update.
Well, we have a lot going on, that's for sure, between now and the end of the year. Let's see, some of the stuff going on. We're going to have a discussion on the Patricia Research Center for the Arts. The building's coming along, but we're trying to figure out when we really are going to be ready to open it and have people coming in, given COVID. So we'll probably have more information on that. We also need to come up with a code for the 5G small cell wireless facilities. That's another thing that's happening. We're hiring a third judge for our courts, which is new, which is going to be done shortly. And what else? Oh, of course, we've had some discussions with a consultant about Black Lives Matter and potential police reform and other issues. So we're still trying to wrap our arms around the best way to proceed with that. The Human Rights Advisory Commission is doing some work as well, where they're discussing specifically different things about the police. So they may have some recommendations either in December or most likely present to the council in January about that. We're also finishing up the Diversity Advisory Board. Are looking at, we have a diversity, equity, inclusion plan for the community, and they are rating how well we are taking on those items. So that's been interesting to hear, and we might be able to use that as another way to go forward concerning racial equity beyond just police. And then we have a lot going on because of the city charter. We're going to be hiring, as I mentioned last month, we'll be hiring a interim city manager for probably January till June. We've gotten applications. We got quite a few. We are now looking at a group, and we'll be deciding tomorrow night in an executive session who we actually want to interview from that group. And then on November 12th will be the interview process. So again, we need to hire the interim city manager before the end of the year so that they're ready to come on in the beginning of January. We're also updating our budget for the costs, and then there will be some structural stuff about, setting up space at City Hall that also will go into the budget. And then we are also going to, I'm hoping that we'll be able to have a discussion about best practices between council and city manager. As Eric probably knows, and some of the rest of you probably do, being a city manager can be a tough spot to be when you've got a political group that is your boss. So looking at best practices for how to do that effectively is something that I think we'll be hopefully discussing in December at one of our council meetings. And what else is going on? There's something else. Oh yes, we're in the middle of updating the city code to reflect the changes. So we just got 150 pages for last week's meeting of changes, of things that have, it's not all changed, but of the changes where we're putting in the terminology for where it should be the mayor, where it should be a council, And the mayor is now considered a council member, but not a councilor. So we've got to go through all of our city code and update city manager, mayor, and then put some other stuff in there too to reflect the changes to the code. So we're working on that as well. So, yep. That's a lot of what we've got going on. I don't know if anyone has any questions. I'm happy to answer them. Eric?
Yeah, Kate, with respect to the interim city manager, is that person someone who you're also considering for the full-time city manager, or are those distinct groups?
So that would be up to the person who does it. And we didn't decide that we're leaving it open. So if they want to apply, they can. I'm guessing the chances are probably 75% that we'll probably choose someone who is going to just be the interim person. And but we'll see. But we are keeping it open. So, but we're not sure which way it'll go.
Kate, is that a change? Because I thought that it was intentional that they do not move forward.
I thought we were going to do that too, but we ended up not. So we'll see.
And just out of curiosity, what's the thinking behind that?
Well, for me personally, why I would prefer that is because this is a change. Again, what's difficult about the city manager position is it is very political, and there are odd things that can happen. You know, you get an unusual crew on council, and then they don't like the city manager and they'll fire them or let them go. That's pretty common. And so it's kind of a dicey job. So I would much prefer, what I'm more interested in is someone with a lot of experience who the new council can work with and will be able to be very straightforward about their, you know, how they see the world and they see our city. And I think that gets a little bit more difficult if you're thinking about applying for the job, right? So I'm leaning more towards that, but we'll see what happens with folks. And again, we're not going to require that people say one way or the other, I don't think.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. I've got a lot of meetings, a lot to do between now and December. So I'm going to be ending with a bang this year for sure. So yeah, you'll see me back in the volunteer side of things again next year.
Thank you for all you've done, Kate.
Yes, thank you.
Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, does anyone else have any questions for council? Bob? All right. Again, you can always reach out at a later time. We'll go to Lani for the city update.
Great. So everything that I was going to say has been covered by Councilor Arnold, and she said it so much better than I would have. So I'm glad she covered it. But I think I would just add, I'm trying to think of a couple things as I look at the rest of the board meetings for the year. We just have 2 more left, November 16th and December 14th. So if there's anything that you want to cover or any guest speakers you'd like to see, please reach out to Ellen or myself, and we can coordinate that, because we know we're winding down for the year. And we know this has just been a really unusual year to be doing our meetings virtually for the bulk of it. And we know that with that has come some challenges. So thanks for your patience. But if there's anything that you've been burning desire to see be on our agenda, now's the time to get it on our radar. And then I think lastly, I would just mention that the boards and commissions fall recruitment deadline had passed, and we had 110 applications. And then for BCCI, we have 1 vacancy. And so we've been doing interviews over the last couple weeks and interviewing 11 people. And so as you know, our board is made up of partial, the NACs send in their own representative, and those elections are also underway in this month and through January. And so we'll have, new members coming in, definitely by as we start the new year, but we may even see a few new NAC reps too. So that's what I've got. Any questions or for me from the city side?
Well, I have a question about, wasn't there some kind of environmental thing that was going on? It's my pet peeve, I guess. I thought there was, like last year, a group, or maybe it was at the beginning of this year, it's so long ago it seems, there was some kind of group I thought was bringing up environmental issues or things like that. Do you remember?
Well, are you referring to maybe the climate action? There's been a request to have a climate action advisory group put together. Yes, and so I know that that program is looking at what the next steps will look like, and that will start, the work will start to take place next year. They've run some ideas by city council, and I think there is a city council meeting, and Councilor Arnold, maybe you can help me out. I think it might be actually scheduled for November, where they're going to talk in more detail exactly about this. So stay tuned. I know it's definitely on the November, or I think it's the November schedule.
Okay, yeah, I don't know exactly when that is. The last I saw, we'll see. Yeah, well, I should not say anything till I find out more of when we're really talking about setting it up. The last I saw suggested that we might, create it next year and then start it with boards and commissions assignments for 2022. Whether we'll really want to wait a whole year to do that, I'm not sure, but we'll see.
Yeah, so I'll Scott Keller is the manager. I'll check in with him and find out when is there's gonna be a presentation for city council. I think there'll be a work session coming up, and I'll send out that date so that to look for that.
Yeah. Okay, that would be one interesting that we could maybe also have. That was the thought. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Right. It looks like there's no more questions for me. Thanks.
How many years does the NAC representatives, how many years do they take on the board, on BCCI or any board?
They're one-year terms on the NAC. When they do their elections, they're for that length of time. But they do all have elections at different times. So, they start kicking off. Most of them are happening October, November, and some in January. But Miles Golwacki, our neighborhood coordinator, he did tell me that some of the NACs are asking to delay just because of the virtual format. They want a little bit more time. So we may see it be a little bit later than normal, but for the most part, most NACs have their elections in the fall.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions for Lani? Anyone? All right. We'll move into subcommittee updates. Burju, did you want to talk about the matching grants, or I can if
Go
you're
ahead.
not prepared?
I'm not prepared. It's like, sorry. So sorry.
No problem. I was just searching my emails. The matching grants subcommittee met last week. We had two events. One was a shred event from the Highlands NAC because the Beaverton Police is no longer hosting those because of COVID. So it is for Highlands members only, just to keep things manageable. So the Highlands NAC is doing a shred event, and we talked quite a bit about how this would be the perfect opportunity for other NACs to step in, and it's quite easy to organize, it's needed, and so please take this idea back to your NACs. A shred event within your neighborhood would be a great way to serve the public, to use the matching grants. It's easy to arrange, and it's very well needed. So you can contact me.
Yeah, exactly. No, I just wanted to add, like, if the next representatives would like to have somebody from us come and present that shredding event at their NAC, that I would be more than happy to show you what they came up with and stuff like that.
And, yes, I'm hosting.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Right.
Annette, you're cutting out.
Hosting that event for our NAC.
Annette, I'm sorry, we can't hear
and
you.
And I'd be happy to help anybody with what, oh geez.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
No, Connect. You are cutting out.
Can you put it in the chat?
I'll send the chat.
The other thing you might try is turning off your video, and maybe it sounds like it's a Wi-Fi, not enough Wi-Fi bandwidth. So if you turn off the picture, maybe we can hear you.
Is that better?
Yes.
So clear.
Yes, yes.
That's better?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Go.
I'm one of the NAC, Highland NAC sponsors for that event, and I would be happy to, for any other NAC that was interested, if they wanted to talk to me or have me come to their NAC meeting about what we found worked and didn't work and that sort of thing. But we're pretty excited about it. It's an easy event and a good distancing event, at least at this point. That's what it looks like.
Annette, how do you determine that it's Highland neighbor only at the event?
Well, it comes from because we're of the financing and matching grant. It has
no. The question is, how do you determine whether the person who's coming for the shred event is a resident of the Highland neighborhood?
We register participants.
Okay.
We aren't going to be, if one or two people sneak into the line, we're not intending to be hard-nosed about that at all. But because our NAC is putting up the manpower and the finances for that, we are trying to limit it to just Highland. So we've done some things like you can do a mailing. The Neighborhood Association can do mailings once or twice a year that just go to the Highland neighborhood. We're avoiding like Nextdoor or other media sites that go broadcast too broadly, and we'll see how it goes. It's a first event, so we always are nervous about how that works out, and until we get more experience with the event itself, we'll figure out what our best.
So that would be great to share those processes and mechanisms throughout so that other NACs can follow suit.
Yeah, I'd be happy. I was thinking that it might be a good project for this group eventually to have like activity kits for different NACs that might want to do different projects. We did a pretty successful weeding project this past August. Had 16 people to it, which I was just amazed. But that was a good practice run for how to do distancing and that was when we worked with the HOA that was shared a border of one of the parks. So yeah, and I know that other NACs have done things that we're interested in. So yeah, I think that would having some like a activity kit or event kit would be a nice supportive thing. So
thank you. And I can also say that the neighborhood department at the city of Beaverton, Miles, will definitely walk any neighborhood through a lot of these steps. So it's not like a NAC has to come with a fully fledged, fully prepared idea. So, but thank you for your input, Jeanette. Welcome to our meeting. And please make sure you give us an update on how that went. Any other questions about the shred event? We approved one other grant. It's called the Snow Fest from the Central Beaverton NAC, and it's in partnership with the Beaverton Civic Theater, where they're going to be passing out art supply kits, and then there's a lot of virtual events that are going to be held So arts and singing and story time participation, things like that. I'm sure a lot of people will hear more about that coming up as well. And any other questions for matching grants before we turn it over to Joe for events? Okay, Joe.
Okay, well, let's see. We had one pretty big event. It was the forum. Eric, before I ask the general question to the group, Eric, did we ever send out a suggestion to the candidates how to light themselves in their homes? Did we ever do that?
I know TVC TV does when
Right.
they send out their instructions and they do a test run.
TVC TV was really good about outreaching, and they contacted all of the candidates, save one, and they were able to test their connection, and they also suggested what they have in their background and how they light their themselves.
Right. Oh, well, that's good. Unfortunately, Jeffrey Walcott's had some bad lighting on him. His face was very dark. And the light was coming from the ceiling straight down.
Jeff Henley or Pat Walcott?
Oh, maybe it was Pat Walcott. Let me see here. I thought this was Jeffrey here. Hold on.
I would say it was Mr. Walcott
Yeah.
out of the two.
Oh, no, okay, no, it was Jeffrey Henley, I guess it was. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, one of them had
Well,
really.
we worked with Mr. Henley on several other events through TVC TV. So, you can only do what you can do.
Sure. Okay.
The old suggestion of leading a horse to water and all
Right.
that.
Okay. Great. So what I like to do is basically open it up to everybody here and say, those of you who watched it, which hopefully most of you did, any thoughts or suggestions or comments? Now would be a good time to do it.
My comment is that Eric did a fantastic job as usual.
You're here.
Yes, second.
You're
Any
very
way
kind.
to track how many people tuned in?
That's a good question. I'll get a hold of Mary over at TVC TV and see if they have any kind of numbers at all. I know that we live streamed it, so Lani may have some kind of tracking on that. I don't know what it was. It actually went out live over the TVC TV channels, and I don't know if they have any way of tracking the number of people that watched.
Mm-hmm.
But given the reaction that I got from a number of people, I think we had a pretty good audience. Thank you.
Yeah, just
Would
to
be
add on to what Eric-
also to check with the Spanish channel as well. I know I went back and forth just to bone up on my Spanish, but I don't know if there is a tracking mechanism, if you can do it for both 30 and 28. And also, Lani, is there a way in which to, now that it's been let out of the box, can you track from here on out?
Yeah, so we can't track how many people watched it on the channel the last time I inquired. So on channel 28 and 30, we don't have that data, but we do have the data of how many people are now watching the link on our website. So that's why we really want you to still share. Some people that didn't see it yet, please share it. We're also running on Hispanic radio channels this week through next week, right through Monday, promoting the Spanish version, because we have some great interpreters that translated the event, as you saw on channel, on one of the channels. So going forward, at least we'll have that. So we're tracking how many people have watched the link that we put on our webpage, and we will continue to track that through Monday night.
I would also like to offer my grateful appreciation to Joe for reaching out to our co-sponsors, the Chamber, the Downtown Beaverton Association, League of Women Voters, Diversity Advisory Board. Whom am I missing? But the League of Women Voters took the link from the YouTube recording that TVC TV posted, and they put it on their website. So it's getting some traction. It's out there.
Yeah, it was, okay, Beaverton Chamber of Commerce, Beaverton Downtown Association, Diversity Advisory Board, League of Women Voters, Washington County, and Washington County Public Affairs
Public
Forum.
Affairs, yeah. And
Yeah.
Brad Avakian was very grateful to be
Right.
able to be a part of that. And they've also posted it. So, you know, it's out there. It's electronic.
Yeah, it was, you know, just one phone call, one email to all these groups, and they jumped right on board. So they're very, very supportive of what we did.
Well, they also
Frosty,
got
do you
the
have a
word out.
question or comment?
Sorry?
Frosty had his hand up. Do you have a question or comment, Frosty?
Yes, I really enjoyed having it on TV because I could back record it. It was questions the two mayor candidates. We ran out of.
Hey, Frosty, we can't hear you.
Frosty's frozen
Shut off
again.
your video.
Okay, let me stop video. I really enjoyed having it on TV because I could fast forward. And I was looking forward to hearing what mayoral candidates were going to ask each other, but I think we ran out of time.
No, that was an unforced error by the moderator, and my apologies for that.
No, you never have any unforced errors. You're too good.
Yeah, right.
Well, the error he made was announcing to everyone that he made the error. Most people wouldn't have noticed.
Right, right. Okay, any
Well,
other?
I'm going to say, I just want to say this, that doing these virtual forums has been an interesting experience, but I really, really hope that we can get back to doing them in person, because the moderator, A, gets a whole hell of a lot more help in person than he gets by doing it himself. And B, I think it just adds more to the drama, the excitement, the tension, having people together and being able to do this in person. So let's all hope that this happens not virtually, but in person next 2 years from now.
Yeah, right.
But
Okay.
I was wondering actually, even if, or I wanted to bring this
It's
up.
also increased information.
Can you hear me actually?
Bridget, or?
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that even if we do it in person, it has such a bigger audience if we can also show it. So I wouldn't discard that part of the virtualness to bring it out to the audience over the means we have, so that more people can watch it, more people can be informed. Seems a really good idea. And the other thing I was wondering, it was great to have all these people there, but maybe we don't have any measures that are controversial, but maybe we can also look for measures to be discussed more, like for the county maybe, or something, if we don't have anything for the city. Just an idea.
Eric, I didn't quite understand everything there. Did you understand what she said?
Well, I think she's making some really good points about having it in person, but also inculcating the electronic aspect of what we did virtually. And given where we're going in the future, I think that's just a given. We're going to have to do that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you one thing. Can you not hear me, or can you not understand my accent, Joe?
With the last name of Schmidt, I have a perfect understanding of your accent.
Eric is perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more thoughts about the forum?
I have one, it's maybe more of a procedural question for Lani, but because we have a sitting city councilor running for mayor, if she were to win, we would have, I would assume, another special election to fill Councilor Beatty's seat. When would that be, and would we do a meeting forum for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I I don't know the answer, but yes, there would obviously be a special election, I would assume, for her seat, and the city recorder's office would be definitely involved in that decision. Councilor Arnold, I don't know if you know this, if that's been discussed.
I haven't heard, but I remember the rules are something like you have it at the next time that you can have a special election, but it has to be like 120 days from when things happen. So I don't know if we would end up doing it in March or in May, but it would probably be one of those two.
And yes, we would have a voters forum.
And so I'll find out what the actual timing is, just so we know that, if that were to be the case.
Okay. Anything else on the forum? Okay, I just want to also mention, Lani and I talked about volunteer fair. We need a 3-month heads up for that. And so we won't decide anything on that until the virus can get quite a ways down and corrected, maybe in the summer, maybe in the fall. But anyway, we'll just kind of watch it and track how the virus is going and when we might do a volunteer fair sometime next year.
You can also maybe look at whether you can do that virtually, the volunteer fair. Did you understand me, Joe?
Yeah, I did. What do you think, Lani? We weren't too thrilled about that idea, actually.
So we could have breakout rooms. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, one thing I want to mention is that the events program puts on the volunteer fair, and I just suggested that they normally, as you all probably are aware, we host it in April usually, and so because that's volunteer month. But I just suggested that they look at moving it later, but that would be their decision, not ours. We're just one stakeholder. And so I just wanted to mention that piece. And then I also think it's a really great hands-on, obviously if it had to be done virtually, but my sense is that if we can do it in person, you can have those conversations, you can get so many more booths visually, you can go stop by and whatever catches your attention and then chat with the people, and that's a lot easier to do versus having even a breakout room virtually.
Yeah, I understand, but the point is also that we don't know what's happening, and maybe people would like to have opportunities of volunteering virtually.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Like we could use it a little differently. That's why I said that. But okay, yeah, I understand the hesitation, but I was thinking, who knows how long this goes further and further.
I also think of the people that don't have, internet or computers. That that's a barrier for them too. So that's another reason. If obviously, we would ask for it to be held in person, but if it's not feasible, given how things have been going, they would probably look at, can this event be hosted virtually?
Okay. Well, anybody else got anything on great things? If not, turn it back over to Ellen.
All right, Terry, are you ready for an update?
Yes. We had our kickoff meeting of the Land Use Subcommittee project to help NACs when they have development proposed in their neighborhood. We'll have to come up with a more streamlined name for our subcommittees, our subcommittee. But anyway, we had 10 participants. Thank you all for participating. We had a very robust discussion, some lessons learned from various projects, and again, the whole point is that we will collect some great ideas and figure out the best way to basically disseminate this information to NAC chairs. And we're really looking for that the NAC chair that's new in their position, and they're faced with a notice, and there's a lot of interest in their neighborhood, and they're not sure where to turn. and they know they have to turn quickly and get some response into the city. So we're looking for some best ideas about how to make sure that that information is housed somewhere logically and that NEC chairs can access that. And so we had some, just some thoughts that came through. We thought, you know, the land use arena is a very complex, multi-faceted realm. And how do we kind of unlock this kind of abstraction and make it useful for folks? And so we talked about various ways of kind of creating, trying to take this complicated land use process and create straightforward, you know, kind of a progress chart when you could, you know, these are the types of land use actions and this is the kind of input that is you might want to make, and you need to make it at a certain point. So kind of taking it as a continuum and different land use actions, kind of specifying each one, you know, type 1, type 2, type 3. It gets very complex very quickly. And we thought trying to unlock some of the key steps in that process to notify folks that this is when they need to jump in the process and need to respond. So that was kind of one area of emphasis. Another thought was to use the quarterly meetings as a means to regularly provide some land use tidbits and best practices in that forum, since that's going to be a regular means by which NAC chairs get informed with the process and kind of a continuing education effort there. And we also mentioned that our land use summit was a repository of a lot of this very good information about how to participate in land use actions. So we wanted to make sure that that resource is available for folks at the NEC level. And we talked about a lot of other things. I'm scanning my notes here, but this is the first of hopefully a couple of meetings where we can, again, take this complex topic and try to create it down, disseminate it into little nuggets that we can then pass along to our NEC chairs. And anybody else from the group have any thoughts about other topics we discussed that maybe I didn't cover?
Yeah, we can call it the Subway Subcommittee.
The Subway Subcommittee.
That's where you met.
With sandwich lunches.
That may be the medication talking, Frosty, but I appreciate that.
Well, and I have a question too with the state law that's changing what can be built in neighborhoods, right? And housing, allowing duplexes and triplexes and all that. It seems like that's something, I know we're still they're still figuring out what the heck that's really going to look like, what the code will really look like, but that sounds like something that would be, maybe your group would want to figure out how to share with neighborhoods, because that is a huge change that they may be dealing with.
That came up.
Ah.
Absolutely. That's going to be something that will be coming onto the radar in a number of neighborhoods, no doubt, as soon as those rules are finalized. I'm sure there will be some takers. And so we'll probably have a lot of NAC chairs that will be wondering what their role will be in this new land use process that's going to be unfolding.
We'll have to get Rob Zoller to just do the hit parade of NACs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we may want him back. You know, that's a thought. We may want him back before us when the city decides to. I think the state rules are now under review, and so cities will then be deciding if they're going to adopt the rules as written, or they will come up with their own rules and go through their own state process of getting their rules approved. And then once, you know, as that's unfolding, I think Rob Zoller would be a good BCCI meeting topic.
He just produced a PowerPoint. I just got it today, so I haven't had a chance to look at it, but it's put together, so that might be a jumping off point.
Absolutely.
I got my property tax bills last week, and there was a notice in the one from Washington County that you can sign up to be notified of any kind of land use actions in Washington County. And if you get that, I strongly suggest you go online and register for that, at least to be notified about some of the stuff that's coming up.
And you can do the same thing for the cities.
Right.
Yeah.
The state charges you though. If you want it in writing, it's $31 or something. I mean, not state, the county. I read that notice too, and then
Yeah, it is. I saw that $31, but you know, $31, that might be well spent, Jim.
Yeah, I think they also have it on the web where it doesn't cost you as much. So
I knew you'd figure out how to get around it.
Yeah, well.
And if there are no more questions, then I'll conclude. Thank you, everybody, for your participation.
Thank you for bringing all your planning commission and professional background and land use to share with everybody. It's so cool to have such a pro helping with this, Terry. Thank you.
Well, and just kind of a concluding remark, I'm going to summarize the discussion that we had earlier in our Zoom call. And if everyone is interested, I'll send it to Lani for broad distribution. And if anybody wants to participate in the future, we're planning on having another meeting, maybe another several weeks. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Perfect timing as always. All right. Are there any member announcements? Oh, is this like new members, Lani, or no?
I just thought since we had some free time on if folks had announcements or something they wanted to speak about, they get the mic. That's only for 10 minutes.
Anyone? You
mean we get 10 minutes to say something?
Well, not technically, but aggregately, you get 10 minutes. You know what? We used to do like NAC updates too, as Sharon will probably talk about.
Go ahead, Sharon.
Oh, I just wanted to ask a question and then also put something out there. I think it was the Beaverton, Central Beaverton had the Snowfest and something about art kits. And that spurred me on to, number one, knowing who that contact person is, I'd like to know. And secondly, I'm on the executive board of a nonprofit gallery over by Cedar Mill. And we have art kits that we have put together for Bridge Meadows, Family Promise, the domestic violence, the extreme weather shelter. We're going to be doing that through the city of Beaverton, THPRD through the Rec Mobile for low-income kids, Elsie Stewart. And so what I want to throw out there is if anybody has an organization where either kids or families can benefit from free art kits, let me know, because I wrote a grant to the city of Beaverton, to the Beaverton Arts Commission, and I got $1,000. And so we are in, we're setting up so that we can put together.
Hey, what's up?
Huh? What's up? Anyway, so if people have audiences who could benefit from this that are somewhat marginalized, we've also done this in front of the Cedar Mill Library, where our gallery is next door. Like Saturday, we had 4 artists doing artist demos, and then we gave out 36 kits to families and kids. So if you have any audiences that would be worthy of this, I would love to know. So just email me.
All right, thanks, Sharon.
Madam Chair, I was unable to attend the last South Beaverton NAC meeting because I was doing a presentation for the League of Women Voters on the ballot measures in Washington County for the Aloha Library. And I just wanted to ask Gary and Frosty if we're still part of Beaverton, that we haven't seceded yet from the city limits.
We haven't yet made a final decision.
Thank you.
Well, there'll be a special election that
Just
you can
asking.
moderate. That you can moderate.
Thank you.
You get to hold a flashlight under your chin.
Yeah. Power's out.
The Snowfest is being managed by Amanda Clark of Beaverton Civic Theater. Sharon, have you ever been in touch with her?
She and I have been on Beaverton Arts Commission together, so I know her. Thank you.
Yeah, she's pretty amazing. Can't wait to see what she comes up with. Lani?
And can I had a question for Sharon, when you were referencing what you were working on, are they available for different ages?
Yes, because I was in touch with Linda over at the St. Mary's Home for Boys, and they need kits that are more for teens, so we're developing that. They also need kits that don't have anything sharp and dangerous in them too. So we're doing a variety of things, from very simple kids, 4 years and up, to mosaic. And everything fits into a gallon Ziploc bag. So it's anywhere from Zentangle, mosaics, doodling, putting together your own journal. It's kind of a wide variety, but they're not elaborate, but we're diversifying the age groups. Does that answer your question?
She said yes.
Okay, got it. She put that in the chat. All right, perfect. Any other questions or communications out there?
I have a quick question about one of the ballot measures. One of my kids asked about measure 34301, which was the Washington County Charter deleted the removal of limits for adoption, and just why there was a limit, why they couldn't do things during certain months.
The history of that is rather intense, and it goes back almost 50 years. It was part of a charter change in the late 70s, early 80s, and it was performed by a gentleman who really didn't want to have Washington County dealing with any kind of land use changes at all. It was incorporated into the charter, and it never changed. It has created some rather remarkable problems for Washington County over the years, because they haven't been able to work on land use issues, ordinances, basically being able to pass on certain projects for a period of time between November, the end of October, November, December, January, February. And they've had to do a whole bunch of stuff in a very short period of time, and it has created some bad planning. So this is a good government measure that would allow Washington County to become part of the Oregon County system. No other county in Oregon has such a moratorium on any kind of land use ordinances. And Chair Harrington and the rest of the board voted unanimously to put it on the ballot, and the county council wrote the language that would lift that moratorium. It's an outdated piece of government nonsense, in my opinion. And I can only speak to that because Terry Lawler was in the Washington County Planning Department for a number of years, and she knows more about it than I do.
Was that Jim Allison?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that. I had no idea why that was on the ballot, and that makes a lot more sense now for that context. Thank you.
Well,
Did that answer your...
if I may advocate, and I don't do that very often, this would be a good yes vote if you haven't voted already.
Thank you.
All right, that answers your question. Okay. Anything else? Since we have a veritable font of information here, and Mr. Schmidt. Okay.
I'm not as old as Frosty Comer. I just want you to know that.
Well, he's not even, on video to reply to that, so you can do your worst. Oh, there he is. Hi, Frosty. I'll turn it over to Joe for actionable items.
Well, I don't see too many, other than maybe if you want to talk about, or you have some ideas on affordable housing, you could shoot them off to Alma, Flores, or to Lani. Yes, Lani, do you want any of that, or do you just shoot it off to Alma? Lani.
Either you can send it directly to her, I can include her contact info, but if you send it to me, I'll make sure it gets to Alma.
Okay.
Your team.
All right, and unless I don't have anything else except for the dates, the next meeting, November 16th and December 14th, please put that on the calendar. Did I miss anything, Sharon? Because you're really good about that.
Well, what I had was, yeah, with your recommendations for the racial diversity entities, services, and design, go to Lani. Elections for next month on November 16th. Any other candidates or nominees, I should say, would go to Ellen or Lani. Speakers for our agenda items for the next 2 meetings in November and December go to Lani and Ellen. And subcommittee and subcommittee, I'm sorry, I can't help myself.
No, that's good. Keep it up.
Subcommittee reports, you know, looking ahead at the volunteer fair, whether that's going to happen or not. Personally, I think it's like herding cats if we do it virtually. And land use ideas and attending the next meeting for the land use subcommittee. Let Terry know.
Wow. See that? You're worth your cost here. Whatever it costs, you're worth it. All right. Go ahead, Ellen. That's it. I'm done.
I think Sharon should get a raise, at least double what you're making now at BCCI.
Here, 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 here.
All right. It's been a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. Is there anything else before we adjourn this month? All right. Thank you all so much.
One last thing, Madam Chair. I thought your statement, your opening statement for the Voters Forum was right on, was perfect, pitch perfect. Yes. And I also want to thank Bintu for her performance on our promo for the Voters Forum. Between the two of you, we really showed what Beaverton is all about.
Yeah, that's true. Very good, guys.
Bintu.
Yes,
Thank
absolutely.
you so much, guys.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the warm fuzzy. I'll see you next month.
Thanks. Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Stay safe.
Kate, are you still there?
Hello, Dr. Lovelace is